So this is going to be another very disturbing, very personal about Frankie being raped. And I was dreaming of this and having nightmares. And I busted Ken Cooper and Sarah Cooper, and the president is covering it up. I'm 100% on this. And I'm 100% on this. I couldn't explain to you how sharp and how it was a eureka moment. And making me pass gas right now. And the reason I say this is because when we went to this is a story when we went to the warehouse. My dad had just died, and Ken Cooper was, at the time, he was targeting me. And I noticed he was getting an attitude with me. And what he did, what Sarah and him planned together, and she said, oh yeah, and this is how she's doing it. She's entirely covering up the homosexual rapes that Frankie went through. She knows about it, and she's lying. She's known about it from I was 5 years old. And they're covering it up. But anyway, the president is responsible for doing that. You know, this white, for the blacks and for the political power and for the whites, that's exactly what it is. I don't feel empathetic for an old bitch that allows a child to get anally fucked and think that you're not going to tell the mother and father and you're going to play and bitch my mother out and go send your fucking family over to the radio station and free money and cars and all this kinds of shit. This person is so mentally sick and vengeful the same way Ken Cooper is. And they're covering it up. And the way that Sarah Cooper is doing this when we're at this house, she tries to portray herself that they contacted people to make sure they put Miguel in place. And it was her credit that she did. And so she's playing this entire role very vengefully. To me, it's very frightening. Or even more frightening is the fact that the President of the United States is covering up for a worthless piece of shit like that. There's people dying that went to fucking prison, horrific fucking things, and you want to help such a piece of shit like that and the goddamn immediate family and allow them to continue doing that shit, to doing that to a little kid and portray them as a fucking white hero and attach themselves psychologically for a clean victory for Sarah and Ken. And Ken, because you got to remember, they know where the garbage has to get placed because they don't want to target the young kids. And the white, Madison and then that family, secure their places, and that's what they did. But she says, oh yeah, she goes, and she's looking down. She goes, and she's looking down at the ground, and we're about to walk outside, or we're standing in the living room. She goes, yeah, Ken Cooper's gonna go. She goes, looks at the ground. Yeah, Ken Cooper's gonna go drive around and take out to the other houses. And she's looking at the ground, so she thinks I understand. She thinks these pieces of shit think I possibly know about this dead little girl. So the psychology of it is to just consistently always persecute me and sabotage me. Persecute and sabotage. I'm the hero, and I didn't know I'm the hero. I stay in my safety, I'm the hero. And that's, the whole mindset is doing that. It's nothing more. And it's such an opportunity to eventually go after my mother, because she's as stupid as a bag of rocks and the people that work with her. And I hate it. I don't like it. I wish my mother was smarter, but out of her own intelligence to eventually do this, because you don't understand how much my mother hated Sarah. Like, this wasn't, you can go, this is about Sarah Cooper owning the spirit of, Marissa or Miranda, whatever the fuck her name is. Anyway, so we drive around, and I don't know if there's cameras in the car. And when we're in the car, I'm sitting in the middle, Julian's to my right, and Ken Cooper, Frankie's to my left, and he's sitting next to Frankie. Frankie. And when we're driving around Nocona, just looking at the neighborhoods, houses, all the houses he owns, he goes, yeah, we own all these houses. Yeah, I own that house. We built that house, and we built that house. And he goes, yeah, and we built that house, right? And he acts like crazy, like all kind of, like, yeah, you think you're gonna get that house, Hector? And I can feel the sense of vibes that he's giving, like he's told you, I'm in charge. And it's so vengeful because he knew Frankie got raped. I was 5 years old and showed up in his uniform. What do you think that does to a kid? Oh, it's just the other one saved it, didn't it, huh? So we're walking, and I can sense, and he's just getting like his is like he doesn't like me. He's very persecuting. He wants to play detective for persecution and throw it on me because he knows he's caught. He knows he's fucking busted. So everything he remembers, he's literally rehearsing back to me in a psychological way so that because he doesn't want me and he doesn't know if I can remember this shit. And that they're very scared. Both of them are panically, eagerly doing as vengeful things as they can to see if I can remember whenever Ken Cooper did this to my dad. And he's did this walking in front of the house, looking at Ken at Miguel's and doing this to my dad because he doesn't want anybody to know about the double life he was living, and that's the granted what the president gives him because he was incarcerating people, and how many people died in there already, and innocently, and lost their lives when they got out because of pieces of shit like that, and. And George Bush does executions, and then that's how you justify it. So in this very situation that I was, thinking of, I thought, we're in the car, we go through, and I can tell that he's like, in the time I can sense like, he's luring. His tactic it's very luring. He has to act masculine and aggressive because when somebody doesn't want to show their homosexuality, there's many different tactics they do, and they're very embedded to this very deep psychosis, very, very deep. And you always want to play this shit. Yeah, you gave my dad a gun. Oh yeah, it's just get the kid fucked in his ass, and then you're not ever gonna get caught. And you need a raise at the detective department. Oh, it's case because a police officer persecuting white boy, blonde hair, blue eyes, bullshit, motherfucker. And so anyway, this is after the whole warehouse. This is after, I think it was it. Yeah, we stopped by a warehouse after he showed us the houses, right? We're going, and, it's getting reacquainted to these people we haven't seen in 20 fucking years, 15 fucking years. We don't know, and there was a lot of feud. And Frankie, I feel very guilty because Frankie was being put in his place by Ken Cooper because, I didn't know what had happened to Frankie, and what it makes it look like is that he's trying to look like he's rescuing Frankie, and that's what he's portraying himself. He wants to staple that in the very beginning, and he gets Sarah to Cooper and is entirely playing together. It's not Sarah found out it was protecting Ken from such a man he is and ruthless cop he is. Oh no, it was Ken Cooper playing daddy with, Sarah, and he's just being it's bullshit. They were working as a team with very vengeful acts. And we're in the car, and Frankie, the way that he portrayed, because you got to understand, Frankie was very protective of our family. Like, he was doing it for me, and he was doing it for my mother when Sarah started threatening us over the phone. And Frankie and my mother were talking. I remember, just tell her, come on, you can't let that bitch get us. You can't let that piece of shit, those motherfuckers. And got into arguments over this. Don't ever call here Sarah again, or threaten my mother ever again, and did all this other shit. So when we go to this house 6 years later, the tables have completely turned. Okay, I don't even know what story Frankie has to say about how Ken Cooper could have done something or shown something when he stayed one night over at Sarah Cooper's house one day. This is when I talked about my mother was shaking nervous. This is how bad it is. This is how crazy it is. Within that time that Ken Cooper came over, it was so horrific because Julian had just been born, and he was sitting in the front seat with my mother. He had just been born, and my mother was shaking nervous, and I remember her. And Sarah Cooper looking at it, you stupid, you got another kid? Fucking bitch, you know, and like it was so goddamn. I couldn't express what a piece of shit of a human being you have to be, you know, to do something like that to an infant baby and a family like that, and you live in a wealthy house in a white neighborhood like that, and we did nothing, and my mother was mad and just didn't want to say. I mean, it was vengeful, and I remember that as a kid. And Sarah Cooper convinced my mother, and then ordered my mother, and she walks around the fucking car. No, he's gonna stay over at a house, and like ordering my mother. She has a baby. She just had a baby stolen from her. She knows about the fucking rape that they raped Frankie with, and now he stays like a weekend, I think it was, or a day or two. It was like a day or two. It wasn't. It was on a weekend to go play with Kenneth. Okay, to stay over there. And I walked into their house, and I remember this, and I talked about they were doing tactics and shit to see if I had been molested, and Ken Cooper was by the stove and all this other shit, and they're doing these types of things. Just like this guy downstairs, he knows about this. So he knows that I know I'm not trying to, you know, rabbit trail, but I'm standing outside taking a picture, and I'm out there looking, and he stands by the stove, and he starts doing body language to mimic what I saw Ken Cooper do to justify that. So he's being informed exactly what to do. And anyway, I don't know what happened there. You'd have to ask Frankie if he remembers. But they would probably train him, figured him out, you know, and then send him off. And we never saw him again. And it was so violating to my mother. But anyway, and Ken Cooper was 100% in on it. It was a threat to my mother. Bitch, I'm going to tell you what the fuck you're going to do. It doesn't matter how much of a position you're going to justify. Like right now in the situation, how they keep squeezing my intestines and trying to make me shit and piss, and I'm trying to tell you about how Frankie got raped, is why all this is white power. Nobody is going to put a person on death row like that of his police detective and police officer, because it scolds the police department and Sarah and that family. And it's Michael Jackson and the president that's involved indirectly into that. So, we go, that you gotta keep in mind, those imprints were set as the years went on. It was not good. So, the argument happens, I'm 14 years old, I'm 13 years old, 12 years old, dad commits suicide, then 8 years later my dad dies, we go over to Sarah Cooper and Ken Cooper's, because Sarah paid for the funeral, and we go to this house that says, they said it was theirs. That's what they said. It says, no, this is our house. And it was, because when we drive around, he's immediately out, because he knew that I was very protective and very fine what to sought out for this house. I was sought all my attention to get this house and money, what happened, where it is, what wrong is being done here, her boyfriend's in control, my mother's not in a good mental state, what the fuck. And they burnt everything to the ground, poisoning me. I would have never had them in the fucking goddamn hospital. I'm having a fucking 2 rapists and Kenneth, a fucking accomplished rapist, there in that goddamn hospital. I would have never had those filthy pigs inside a hospital like that. And watch me die and get the last laugh against my mother all over again. Ha ha, I did this to you over the phone, you piece of shit. Ha ha, now your own son's gonna fucking die, your only precious little boy. Oh, you see, I sent a nigger over to him. Oh no, it's not about race, it's white power. No, it's not white power. He has a black hair, white, and they just keep doing this. That's all it is. They know how to stay at the top, and you know, they know how to, that's the president's doing that. He is the one that's responsible, because remember how he kills Osama bin Laden and puts people on death row and kills innocent people? Oh, and then I know, and then explanations of genius shit. So what he does is that we're driving around, and I can tell that he's like, no, Hector, that's not your house. No, you're not going to be a thief, you know. And so he gives this kind of crazy look, because he remembers the crazy look when we were sitting when I was on the couch. This is the same instance whenever we're sitting at the table like this, and he does this, and he goes, and he looks, and he signals to Kenneth, and looks over at me, and then it gets quiet for a moment, like And I look over at Kenneth and Ken, and what secret talk are they doing or some shit? And then Kenneth gets up kind of gets up and like he knows the signal. And then Ken Cooper's like, and you could tell he's acting the whole fucking time. And this person doesn't have a college education to be a detective, okay? I don't care what kind of personality the fuck you think you are. Anybody that does does not have a college education to incarcerate people for life, and a little child gets raped and he gets promoted to a fucking detective to make even more fucking money. He gets rewarded that way and to more power. So anyway, what happens is we go to we're driving around, we stop by our warehouse, and this is where Frankie cries. And he puts Frankie more in his place. This is the ass raping that he gave Frankie on a personal note. That is horrific. We're walking, I talk about in this warehouse, it's about the same size of Jack's painted body. We walk through the doors all together. We're walking, together, just coasting, and there's a lot of open space, and there's like a little assembly line and probably like 15 Mexican workers, and there's a lot of open space, like, a warehouse of like Jack's painted body. And we walk through one of the little offices that's against the wall. And when we get there, there's a guy that pulls a knife. And he's looking at the camera and he's looking at the computer screen, and it's a white boy. This guy looks like a golfer. He's a white supremacist golfer piece of shit. I could tell you, all these were wetbacks too. And he was like, you could tell he was gooning over these motherfuckers that were like, yeah, white power, I got these, they're Mexicans, there are a bunch of Mexicans over here, but they work really good. And we don't pay him very much, but they work very good. So he's training me, and this is what he's doing, and his attitude and expression is like this. So he's downplaying me, no, this is my money, and this is my Michael Jackson, and I get what the fuck I want. But just something isn't really vibing. Now, his son was just standing in front of my dad's funeral. Remember, this is a child rapist accomplice. He did this to my mother, father, Frankie, me, and the police. Did not report this to the police or did anything to help. So did Sarah. She did this to her own father. So we're walking, and Frankie kind of like does this, and his eyes start getting really red. Like he's nervous, like thinking about all the ass fuckings he got. I'm not kidding, about all the fucking ass fuckings he got. That's what it looked like. When I go back in that videotape, that's what I'm looking at. Ken Cooper of him, and he's in his face expressions for what Frankie's giving when I'm walking, it's like he's thinking about all the ass fuckings he got. And we're walking, and this is what Ken Cooper does. This is exactly what Ken Cooper does. In order to justify the body language that you want to do to an innocent little boy who's being fucked in his ass by a guy that looked like Jesus, because this is Keynote and Sarah Cooper for Madison. Okay, so we're walking, and he starts strolling like he's his daddy. He starts strolling. I don't know if you can see that. Let me straighten that out a little bit. Oh, okay, that was for Ken Cooper. Okay, so anyway, we're walking, and the body language that he gives is very much like, I know how it is when you get raped and fucked in your ass. Detective, police officer. And he's doing this to Frankie, and Frankie's like kept his face straight, like looking ahead, and they're walking toward the back, and he's just kind of like, his eyes are red, he's like, and his eyes are kind of red. That's what it looks like. He's kind of stalling, like slow walk, like all of a sudden, like he's having flashbacks of all the good fuckings that Ken Cooper did for the police department. So when he's doing this, I notice his eyes are red, and his body language, and he gets around Frankie, he's guiding him, like, and he's just like, and he kind of wiggles. And there's cameras in this place, you'll see all his body language. What he's doing is he's enforcing his security. Remember how he's continued to do this in the car? Now he's doing this in the warehouse. Remember how Frankie was being raped? They're doing this from the very beginning.
Now it's time to go have Sarah play in on it, and then Sarah will fire back at Ken. And then they have an accomplice of an alibi. So when they get caught, no, you don't know where it's gonna go. Kenneth and Madison go have a good time. Well, then fuck you. Remember I did it for political power and Michael Jackson? Police detective. You don't understand what I had to do and how I saved America and what I had to do. So and it keeps going, and they're thieves. They're the guttering pigs of. To intentionally know that and have a gun on you, and do that to a veteran and do that. I mean, my father was getting bitched in, you know. But anyway, he's playing this body language like I'm your daddy. Yeah, and he gets his keys that he has, right? And he sort of just kind of does this like, I got him this time. Like this is what he's doing to Frankie, and they keep walking, and you know he kind of wants to do a daddy talk with Frankie, you know, the daddy talk, you know, a man talk with him, you know, let him. Now he's grooming Frankie. This is what he's doing. The worst thing that happened is the fact that I didn't know about the rapes, and I drew all these drawings, and I'm being trained to what the fuck happened. You know, Frankie's not saying anything. The day my dad dies, we're in his kitchen, and I said, "You talk to Mickey?" He goes, "Yeah, I talked to him." You know, what did y'all talk about? What? And so Frankie doesn't even really realize that he doesn't think I even remember or know about this. I think I want to say I maybe heard him one day tell me something. Like, I don't think you remember, do you? Or I don't know. I feel like he was telling me something, or he was trying to insinuate, or he said, "I don't think you remember," or something. Anyway. But we're walking, and so they go to the warehouse, and I go, oh, okay, and I walk off sort of to the left, out the door, right to the car, and just wait. I guess because Ken Cooper looked like he wanted to give him an old daddy police officer detective talk, like he was the hero. You know, him and the detectives, they got it under control. They know better. You know what's going on. And so he has this, like he's the keys. He's the absolute hero. Right? And there's a lot of body language that he's doing to indicate this. And I think it's important for me to talk about, because it's important for me to talk about in these circumstances, because they go outside, I wait there for a couple minutes, and I gotta go see what the fuck's going on, and I wait there for maybe a minute or two, and they're on the dock. They're in the dock area, and when I go over there and I look around the corner, Ken Cooper is just sitting there like, "Yeah, I feel emotions for you. I feel emotions for you." And so he's doing this, training him. This is not what this pig is. He's changing his fucking story. What he's doing. This is what this pig is doing. And I see Frankie. Within those few seconds, you know, he's doing that, and I could see him right 20 feet from me, clear. And as I look around the corner, and I see Frankie do this, no, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. And Ken Cooper's like, you know, how men and us faggots in this secret closet work. You know, this is white power here. But I mean, oh, hold on. I'm not racist here. So, and he's just like, "Oh, it's fine. It's okay." And when I saw Frankie, he looked very personally violated. If I were to have say something about it, he personally, as a person, he looked very violated. That he was very penetrating him. Like, because he knows there's nothing friendly and good when he has to get on the phone and yell at his wife. And I don't know if he ever talked to Kim, but I know he did, I think maybe once. But the threats are always coming from both of them at the same time. They're backfiring. Just like Ken Cooper was in the parking lot waiting, using his enforcement when my dad committed suicide. It was just horrible. My dad's in diapers, and, you know, anyway, Sarah and my mother were about to fight. And when this happens, we get into the car, and, you know, Frankie's kind of brushing off his redness eyes and tears, you know, and I don't know what the fuck, and I'm kind of doing this, like, I'm like, these are my brothers, you know, like, what the fuck's going on, like, don't think we have it, or what the fuck, you know, like, and I'm agitated, and I don't know, it's something else. Remember White Boy who pulled out the knife? Golfer White, this guy was there's a certain type of certain type of white supremacist motherfuckers that have that character. I know exactly who the fuck they are and what they're doing and how they portray their lives to get what they want. I know exactly that type of person. And he was doing this to a Mexican, and they have nothing but like wetbacks there in that warehouse. And so we get into the truck, we take off, and Ken Cooper's, the way that he's in the car, he's just like, oh, you don't understand what a killer I am and how ruthless I'm going to be for a detective, you know. Oh, you know, I know what Hector sees, he's just going to take it from me, huh? And this is how it is. He's a, you know, that's the worst of the worst in my opinion. And the police department played in on it. They did. They went along with it. You know, he got a promotion. They knew what the fuck they were doing. That's why his kid got sent into a radio station to work first class with no education. And he's a white. He has a white daddy that works for law enforcement, has no background of any type of music of that world, and he's getting a prime spot at a radio station because they felt empathy, because those are all faggots there. Only faggots can do that. Straight men cannot do that. That's only a faggot move. And I went in there looking, and they're all faggots and giving each other signals. And I went in there. I know exactly what's going on in that entertainment shit. So, and they shut the doors. They're soldiers. They're faggot soldiers in there. No confusion about it. There's no fucking confusion. So, as he's showing his body language, right, you know, it's not settling very well. And it's kind of going back to like, okay, what's going on? So we get settling back to whenever the arguments used to happen, but that's what the setting is, even deeper now. We get into the house, and immediately Sarah Cooper, we're going there talking, and then Sarah Cooper's like this, oh, Hector, come on, let's go talk here in the kitchen. They're going to go talk. And so when she's sitting in front of me, and we're talking in the kitchen, and I'm trying to figure out all these answers, and Frankie goes out, Ken Cooper smokes a cigar, and he starts having a talk like he's playing, he was the hero, he was the one that cleaned up, he's the one that has to stay there, he's the one, and this is exactly what this pig is doing. This is horrific rapes from a 250-pound, oh, just your family, oh, it's just, the president is responsible for doing this. And this church shit is the one that's doing the rapes as well. Because remember, this is a cowboy. This is a white Jerry Jones cowboy motherfucker. And so we get there, and Sarah Cooper then has the whole manipulation. She's trying to turn me and Frankie against each other. She's already sees Frankie's, can tell he's crying, his intensity. There's already the build up to this. It's very calculated. And I'm sitting at this table. When she's talking, she begins to do this. Talking to me, and she was like, oh yeah. Yeah, he goes, yeah, they're talking. And she's looking at the ground. She goes, oh yeah, they're talking over there. And so she started projecting that she's a hero. This is now body language. This is projecting an idea that I'm a hero. I'm the one that did this, that cleaned up. I'm the one that was supervising. I'm the one that knows better and is your mommy. No, it's not your mommy. I'm the one, I'm not your mother. I'm the one that was, no, I want to take ownership. This is mine. No, the dead little girl is mine, I know. But there's a very deep, disgusting behavior that's underlying this. Very, very deep between the two of this double closet life and what was going on. You can tell by looking at their kids, none of them look like each other, you know. But anyway, so we end up leaving, and it sort of turns a turmoil between me and Frankie. It did. You could tell that there was, and it was all because had I known about these rapes, and I know it sounds so bizarre and so fucked up for me to say this, because how do you go through a life of watching these things, and I'm bringing them up to my mother and Frankie, and no one talks to us. No, the police doesn't do anything. Ken Cooper, what the fuck is going on? You're playing with the guy that raped you. You know, what the fuck is going on? Like, and I get conditioned that none of these shit happen, and it's not me running away. It's none of it. You know, I tell Frankie, I tell my dad, what was Frankie doing, you know, over in the back of the VFW veterans that were raping him? Veterans Night. And, you know, so, you know, it was really fucked up. You know, I don't know really what else to think of the circumstances, because I feel very heartfelt for my brother, no matter how much he overcame it. That I think is good for me to put on videotape, because they know that you're going to put all the ammunition and hate, you're going to want to set up murders. This is what people would want to do to a pig like that, and to his kids, because it is so innocent and so persecuting that this piece of shit thinks what he's doing is a good thing, and he knows that he can use his badge to take whatever he wants and steal what he can manipulate. Is to intimidate, poison, secure, submit, and then send everyone else, send the parasites. And then I didn't do anything. It's very calculated, very calculated. And it's very clear, very concentrated, very mentally prepared of what they're doing. There's no confusion. These are criminals. Those are some criminal motherfuckers that are doing that. We end up leaving, and because of that, what does Frankie think of me because of pigs like that? What does Frankie think of me? What does Frankie think of me? How does that make him feel? You know how many times you got ass raped? And your own brother, we were getting into arguments, but I could tell that Frankie did not want to talk about it. I could tell Frankie was in the car, that I think he felt betrayed by me, in a sense of like, I should have been more protective, but we can't talk about this, because remember, everything's so vulnerable. Everything's so vulnerable. He hadn't seen him in several years. My dad just died. I have to, figure out what the fuck's going on with Frankie, figure out what the fuck's going on with Julian. Julian's not even fucking telling me. He has an identical twin. And that's what it is. And see, Julian's gay, and because Frankie's gay, they've had the homosexual shit, bond between the two. And that's exactly what it was. When I was in the car, that's 100%. 100%. 100 billion %. And, it was, sort of a little bit of that. And siblings do that, but we're in the car like brothers, and we're talking, and, I don't know how many cameras and stuff. What that made it Frankie feel like, that he doesn't want to inform or help, but he begins sort of doing the same thing he was doing when he was sitting in prison, being raped. Let me give you more money when my dad dies. You can keep it. And let me go and play, let me go ahead and play more secure situation with protecting mother again. I have to protect the family again. Like, it is so brutal to experience something like that, because your life should have been so much more better, and what they're doing is they're securing the entire childhood because of Michael Jackson. They know there's going to be a build-up. They know they're securing everything. Let me tell you something. What you don't know, how much this followed me in, was when I also when I got placed on probation. When I got placed on probation, do you know my probation officer and the other probation officers that were in there? There's another guy who used to hang out in the hood named Jesse. He used to hang out with Edward and Marco, and anyway, I went to school with him for a while up in rehab as well, and I hadn't heard from him in a long time, 25 years, but I just know that he was. I just know that he ended up being on probation. I saw it was his probation officer that I saw, and I remember this guy, and he was kind of dark complected Mexican, and they could have reformed him to put him there. And when I was walking through the police station, this is me walking in the police station, they were getting attitudes and directing it like they were talking to Miguel when I would go take a drug test or whenever I would walk by him. And I'm not kidding you, this is what they would do inside the police department. This is 2 probation officers. The probation officer, I don't know if my probation officer was a real female or a transgender. I think could have been a transgender. I still don't know to this day. She said she had one son. She was a very nasty person to me, very disgusting and mean fucking disgusting bitch. And called me stupid at times. And when I make bad grades, what are you stupid? You know, and you know. Anyway, we go, and I can tell the body language, and this one guy that's in there knows about the rapes, and he starts, every time he walks by me, he does this, like he's like, and so he puckers up his chest and his back, like, I'm a straight boy now, I'm a good boy now, you see, I'm gonna get away with raping the shit and punching out of Frankie now. I'm going to portray Miguel, and it's okay, Hector. And I'm sitting where that camera is, right? And so this body language is to train me, and they think I know, but nothing is going through at all in my mind that they're referencing this. This is how invested they are. This is how well they're invested in trying to cover up. These are probation officers, motherfucker. This is inside the Carrollton Police Department where I have to check in twice a week. And then the next week I go Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Next week I go Tuesday and Thursdays. Next week is Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I take a drug test randomly at sometimes. But like I said, it's right by near the high school. I'm not kidding when I say this, when this goes on, that I am seeing these probation officers and this one particular guy doing this. And so I'm walking one day, and this guy, le da mucho vergüenza cuando me mira. And in English, that means he gives him a lot of embarrassment when he's talking to me. Como le da vergüenza cuando me mira, como ya se pongo muy correcto. And he's supervisor now. Don't believe Miguel. Because they think I got raped too, or molested. And they don't, when somebody is that emotionally invested, it is not protecting me. It's, let me feel sorry for Miguel and transgender Diana. Let me feel sorry for the transgender rape, gay rape, transgender. The gay community invests like that toward one another. It's unbelievable of that investment that they do to their own people because they're parasitical. What happens to a straight man? It's cold cut, penitentiary. You're in there with a bunch of gay faggots that will whoop your ass and rip your ass open like a little boy, like they did to Frankie. And fights, it don't matter. Just because you're gay don't mean shit. All the professional athletes, MMA fighters, how many do you know they're faggots and gays? You already know all the DJs, 100% of them are. You know why? You know why the producers, to understand the cultivation that is congruently in how that develops in the United States and all around the world, to who ranks power and who gets demoted with information and whatnot, and who gets placed there. And they keep that in a very tight secrecy. Very tight. Nobody can break that. Nobody can. And it's going to keep going in life. It's a very slow evolution. But anyway, he's doing this in the probation officer office, right? And and I walk over, and so when I'm like going to go take a drug test, and the guy's standing way down the hall waiting for his because he wasn't my probation officer, he was Jesse's. He gives his cup, to him, and like I'm over here, and then I go start walking, and he's standing over there, and he does this like he's looking at Miguel and just putting him in his place, securing the police department. And it sucks. This guy is Mexican, he's sort of dark complected, similar to my father. He's short, kind of stubby, short and stubby kind of looking guy. But you have to understand it. It's people like that that will go against Ken Cooper to know that these pigs knew about it. And they don't even exactly know all the information. I know my probation officer knew about Michael Jackson, and they found out that information about it because I brought it up when I was with John Basili's house, and I didn't know they had cameras in there. So anyway,
I think it's important for me to talk about because I think it's important for me to talk about, because I'm not going to be talking to this information on my deathbed, and it's going to be, that's going to be the end, and it's something that I have to unfortunately face at the most disgusting levels of a human being. I won't be able to die peacefully. I won't be able to get a peaceful death and last moments of the way that I choose to live my final days, exactly the way that I want. With whoever I don't want to have any communication with or contact, they're going to force me and condition me to that obligation. And that's coughing up blood in the real life, watching somebody die so that they get the last laugh. And they're not going to tell you that. You'll never find out. They'll never fucking tell you that. And I should have a right to my own death, to say how my last moments of life is going to be, who I want and don't want there, and to seal the deal emotionally, mentally, spiritually in the way that I choose. But they're not going to allow that because the President of the United States is giving that order with his team of faggots and psychologists. For Madison and Kenneth at the radio station. So when this is over with, all right, I'm 16 years old. This gets brought up. Barry's class, my health class. They're so invested and feel empathetic for this person. And let me tell you something. This is what they did in my math class. I know this sounds really crazy, but I remember there was a lady. This is how they're investing. They want to find out what I know or what I think I know. This is how do these people find out this information? They're total strangers. I have no clue. I'm on my math class. Josh Key is in my class, who I used to see who played the trumpet with me in 6th grade, who also was he failed one of his math classes and needed to take a math course or something, but he was, what was it? I was going to say he was in my math class. I was in the 11th. I was supposed to be a sophomore or junior. I think I was a junior. I should have been a junior, but I was a freshman. And we were sitting in this 4 school table desk. When we get there, and the teacher was like, did this. And she's a math teacher, and she's like looking, she goes, and she's looking at the computer screen. And everybody's just real quiet, kind of scribbling on their paperwork, just beginning the class. And then she goes and she starts like sort of getting into this dramatic situation. She goes, and she's looking at the TV screen. So they found out that because the girl, I don't remember who was sitting next to me. I don't think anybody was. It could have been, but I don't remember who was. But the girl right across from me, she was a very pretty girl. I mean, this girl was fine, and she was 14 years old, I think. I was 17, and or just turned 17, and she had just turned 14 years old, and Josh Keith sat next to her, and then she looked same skin complexion, eye color, and hair color, but prettier than Madison. This is the profile, and they do this on purpose. We're in the middle, the center of the class. And this is what makes me think and to understand, like, I'm not sure how surrogate mothers work whenever men want to hide their closet life and they'll go get a woman pregnant and then keep it secret and never tell you how they develop because they don't want to get caught. And they'll say, oh, I was cheating on my wife or whatever bullshit story. And the president follows through, right? You already got transgenders over there, so they run the show. So what happens is that this girl begins to say that her boyfriend is I think 20, 23 or like 24, 23 years old. And me and Josh are completely floored. We're like, dude, he's annihilated. And this girl was just as fresh as a peach that you could possibly get. This girl, and just as fresh of a peach you could imagine, and not really developed in her breast, but she had some tits, and she had a. She said this, and she's like, "We have been together for 6 months," and he was like, "Well." He goes, "Yeah, well, my sister was 16 years old. She got with us 20. Her boyfriend was 28 years old, and they got together, had a kid. And they're still together 10 years down the road." And I remember that conversation, but I wanted to say this because this is sort of a foreplay that this heterosexual woman plays, right? Because she obviously doesn't know the great details of this, and it follows me when I get to high school. Because remember, you got to fight for the white power. You got to fight for you think was right and white the whole time. And it follows me. I get treated not welcoming. I don't get treated all that great. There's all these attentions. Remember Michael Jackson. Remember the rape. Because they're exchanging the rape for Michael Jackson. Like, okay, we're going to just not treat Hector like shit, but he's a straight one because his dad's gay. Oh, because then Frankie got raped. Well, we gotta feel sorry for him. He made a mistake. And so they keep doing this shit to me. Keep in mind, he's getting a raise over at the police department and without education. This is horrific because the President of the United States is directly responsible for allowing a pig like that because, not the kids. So, that's exactly what it is. And I think it's important for me to talk about, these are very quick tactics that he's doing. Like when we're sitting, now we go back to my conversation at 20 years old, where me, Kenneth, and Ken Cooper are sitting at the table just speaking for a moment. And this is kind of where I say, my father spoke to the president, right? Did he tell you that? And then he kind of looks, and I don't know if he knew, I'm sure he probably knew, but somebody. And when he looks at Ken Cooper, and I'm not sure if this is like before or after the conversation, but he looks at Kenneth and he just goes. The reason he does this is because when I was a kid, I'm 5 years old, he's in his police uniform and he has his car parked outside. And he's talking to my dad, and he does this, and he's talking to my dad, and he goes, yeah, that's a cute kid right there. Or whatever, I don't even remember what they talked about. And he goes, and so he does this because he knows Miguel. Remember I told you he was picking up his pants whenever he was walking in front of the porch, looking at Miguel like he was, getting Miguel for raping Frankie and punching him? Well, he's doing this now to my dad. Well, you're going to play detective again, but get a raise. You can't do anything, but it's time for, someone else to clean it up. And so I think it's important for me to talk about because there's not, it's hard to go against the number of people that I went up against. Nobody can win a fight. Nobody can. You go against the situation, the position that I was in. Nobody can win that fight. Nobody can. You will never win that because. People really look up to blonde-head fucks like that. Like, nobody knew I got charged, whenever we went to CC's. And I talked about this in my other video. I talked about this in my past, too. Many, many, many years ago, I talked about this. Sorry, they're shooting my penis right now, so they make me itch. So I wanted to say this. Something I want to say that's crucially important as well about going to CC's. The guy the white boy, blonde hair, blue eye fuck that charged me at CC's. It was the only time I'd ever been to a dinner with my sister. I know, and then you go to a date and it was Ken Cooper look-alike, and then it was nice when I took your, whatever bitch you threw in front of me, right? And, all for you niggas. And, so when we get there, that was the only time I'd ever been to a restaurant, and my mother didn't approach my sister at all. Like, it looked like an abandonment, which it was, but it looked professionally set up. They told her not to talk and just sit there and stare at your kid and look at your kid. And I think that's what they told her, because the way that my mother sat down at that table was not that I'm lost. She intentionally looked like she was told to sit there. And when she sits there, there's something else that is very trained that you need to know. Now, I'm not trying to say anything bad about Ivan. Bad situation for a dead little girl. But when I approached Ivan at that table to go play video games, I remember him being sort of aggressive, intense, like to get away from my sister and family. And he was talking to his dad, and he said something like, oh, see, we'll be there, okay. And I was walking, and I was like, hey, Ivan, and he goes, like he was trying to protect all of us. And there was no reason ever. There was no arguments the days before, weeks in. So his dad had him like this, like, okay, they're going to try to take our money. You got to. Now, I don't know who's training him. I don't know who else was involved. I don't know that situation. I'm just telling you what happened. Now, this is why it sort of pushes me away from the little girl. To be want to be more curious. But she don't understand my curiosity now, doesn't want to turn into more curiosity, so leave that alone. My mother is sitting right over there. And Ivan didn't seem very fazed by my mother. Now, I said that this guy charged me. I've never shared that before. You have to understand the details of that, at least part. Now, all that is left with this situation is that dead little girl is going to be thrown to me at the funeral. Her spirit, soul, and how that gets ripped apart open, that's what the president is doing that now. Because there's nothing left of that corpse and of existence of whatever that's left of that mentally retarded, Down syndrome little girl who was dragged around like a whore in front of me and abused, because there's nothing that's going to give me. Now it's an emotional state of being and new understanding of fuck you. And they want to throw that on me because they're going to try to have a proper burial, and they're going to practice this shit. So they want to clean up Sarah and Ken, and you got to keep in mind, those old pieces of shit lived their life like pigs and did what they did. They know that all the psychologists and the white supremacists and the queers, they're all working together in teams, these transgenders, to keep Madison and Kenneth and those pig kids that participated in this a clean slate. And the way to do that is to go after the little girl and cut her neck open. And that's what they're doing. So that is just the sacrifice for the blood of Jesus, who fixed everything for Madison and Ken. And so you play this seance, this mental, spiritual seance of, like this, you're dying, and it's just the Spirit of God, and it's very powerful. There's nothing that is, it's more tragic and probably more spiritually impacting when you bury a child, especially 14, 15 years old. 13 years old, 10 years old, 7 years old, then it is a 25-year-old and then a 20-year-old, because they were so innocent and they didn't mean to do anything. Now, the police department needs trash and a dead body to clean up that at. So, since the police officers gave me 40 tickets, since the police officers were protecting Ken and they did all this shit, they're hoping that you're not going to remember. They're hoping I was going to go to jail, and then you start forgetting, remember the dead corpse, and then they're just doing the cop work, and then radio station, but Hector's never going to get it, oh shit. You see how precious that now change the dead little girl's existence now. It's not being thrown on them, and as it was thrown directly at my mother because it was his daughter, and I wasn't being able to remember or identify that little girl. I never remembered her. I never thought of her. I never said, oh wow, that's a beautiful little girl, that God created, and how that was my sister, and even though the years pass and tragedies, there's no fucking remembrance or shrine of a fucking flower, motherfucker. I was just shitting my way through life, not even realizing that this fucking person that was hanging on a fucking cross on Ivan, that, you know, the Lord Jesus Christ, that, you know, for Ken Cooper, who built the fucking church, and Madison and Kenneth and Sarah, you know, especially for the George Bush and Barack Obama, because the transgender I know movement, that was my sister. You see, it was just so beautiful and precious, you know. How could you ever not allow something like to ever affect you? There are tragedies all over the world, you know. Let me tell you who got burned alive in Iraq. Let me tell you who got shot in the head and still survived. They didn't get a bus coupon, you know. This is America. Michael Jackson is an incredible, you know. We all know the horse shit. We all know the horse shit talk. These are murderers. These are Nazis. These are not friends. These are not buddies. These are not mentally normal people. They're not. These are the worst of the worst of human. If you want to come across the people that reference to the Dark Angel, Joseph Mengele, Adolf Hitler, you know, the great monsters of Nazi Germany during the Holocaust, that's them. That's those motherfuckers right there, and the people that work on all that other shit. And nobody wants to be around them. Atomic bomb, nobody wants to deal and be around them. You keep your money, fuck whatever women you want, prostitution, your faggot shit. Nobody wants to be nobody. That disgusting world. You know, it's better, and it is better to get away from that and live a blue collar life. You know, pay your taxes. It's way better. They have to run, the way they run countries and other people, and how reinstate force and power is a mental state that nobody really understands but those groups of people. That's a cult. That's a fucking mental cult of people. And in somewhat way they do have to be that way. But it is evil beyond anything. Very cynical, very dark. They want to be viewed, the political notions of entertainment and all. They do shit and point fingers. They're not normal people. They're not. And, you know, I don't think we were asking too much, you know, but at least I don't feel like I was. And they just kept on doing it. You know, you lose your fucking life, you lose your kid's life, ain't no second chances there. But I don't remember that little dead girl. I didn't have a remembrance. All that dead little girl is only worth for bait. It's only molded for shit. Because it's to sue the coding for that family for what they did, spirituality, associate with Jesus, associate with God, get away with everything. It doesn't ever change. They know that they have this on a barbecue grill, just marinating the bitch. You know, they don't give a fuck, and throw a little bit of sauce in the crowns and shit. That's what they're doing. And so the president has to clean things up, but he needs me to be in a position of mental and emotion, and he tells the psychologist, but there's no beauty of it in like Mexican culture that I would have grown up understanding how my mother, you know, you would have had, you know, you have to let go that people do die and pass away, but especially when it's a little girl, this is a horror story. This little girl is wearing a princess outfit in front of me. It's my sister walking up and down the sidewalks, and I go to school with her, and I don't even know that this is happening. She's not getting kisses. She's eating dog shit food. She's laying on the fucking floor. She's shitting or pissing herself. And I see Ivan cry. You know, this is world-renowned, white-powered Ken Cooper. Sarah Cooper feels sorry for Kenneth and Madison. Oh, I'm shit. Fuck you too, huh? You lose your fucking life. You get cancer diagnosis. It's a different very story. It's a very different story. Now, they know it's going to be like it's going to be ruthless, cold, that they're just got to fix it, or I got to just stay hard, or I just got to tolerate more shit. You start crying and there's no fixing, and you lose your life, you don't get more opportunities. You'll understand the pain then. That's the only way you'll ever understand. It's all very cheap garbage shit. because it's all these other people that fucking did it, and then it's all these other people that also did it. But I felt good about this white one because I got this one to do the shootings, and then you see. So it never changes. That is going to be a negotiation shit tool. That's a negotiation shit tool because they know I'm going to be bitter. I've expressed this and very angry and enraged. How can my own bloodline and how can my own flesh and blood, my sister, little girl in the spirituality that I believed in and went to church, this girl doesn't go to church with me. I've never seen this girl go to church. Maybe once. I don't think they've ever. Maybe once. And when they went to church, I think maybe once I think, that I saw or was told that they were going to. I don't know if they ever did. Went one time. I know, and then one time for Patricia Cardina, I know transgender. And, you know, it's, they know I was going to be in a rage. But it doesn't belong to me. But it really does. But what do you have between your legs? You got a retard you might produce? I gotta be a hero. I gotta put a stop to this. I gotta put a stop. I gotta put a hero. I gotta be a hero now. He wants a white girl? Oh, I know what you like. I gotta be careful. Okay, now put him down because Kenneth's the mascot. Oh, that's not what I mean. And so the cops, the police officers, you don't give a fuck about my life. You motherfuckers, there's a heavy throne that's being thrown on me, and I can't afford. I buy a 12-pack of beer and I'm hurting at the end of the week. I'm fucking hurting out of my paycheck. I'm lucky if I can to have a good time, and I'm by myself to be miserable and sad. And I'm scrounging up quarters and pennies to go to like Chick-fil-A, get a chicken sandwich, a chicken dinner with fries, and a strawberry lemonade. You know, I'm hurting for that, just to get that, and I have to. When I get it, it's like I haven't eaten for such a long, and I have to treasure it because I don't have any money, and so I try to treasure it even more because I don't have any money. But understand that there's no remembrance. So when that gets placed on me, okay, now I'm gonna run, and I get in a rage. You know, it's just like there's not a sense of worship or the spirituality that I would have developed or put properly to give it a rest to say. It was just someone that I just saw. Because remember, we don't know what happens in the afterlife. We don't know exactly. Even the mediums are very disgusting motherfucking people that say dirty ass shit. Paris Hilton's cousin got mouthed off by Alison Dubois saying she was basically going to burn in hell and die alone, a worthless bitch. You know, and goddamn, you hear somebody who works at the police department fucking picking up dead little kids off the fucking street that were brutally raped or murdered. Goddamn, you know the spiritual, and they're telling you messages that fucking shit. Looks like Jesus ain't really that powerful as much as you think he is, because we don't know. Now use that part of that circle of understanding and apply that. That's why Sarah Cooper wants that shit. Sarah Cooper, that personality, I know what that profile individual, they're so parasitical after it because that's what she's doing at the hospital. Then she begins because it wants to talk to spirit and fuck you. That's my flesh and fucking blood. My father, biological father, understands this little girl died because my mother told her. I mean, I'm watching this little girl get hit, throw up. You know, I'm like about to call 911 because I'm looking at the window, and I swear to you, you may be able to ask Ivan this. He might remember this. Because if he knew that was my sister and I didn't behave like I did or said, but he maybe thought, you may be able to identify this. Go ask him. And I was by the window, and I said, and I stood, and I didn't have the phone, but because she was throwing up, and I was like, shit, like, I think I'm going to have to, like, I got nervous because, like, we have a little kid that's dying in real life, like, shit, I think this little girl's dying. Like, I think I have to call 911. I was terribly nervous, and I was like, I just got to go, call it in case. And I was just looking, and I looked right at his face, and I saw him how he was sort of picking up her face, like gentle, like trying to kind of like picking her up and come on, trying to pick up your head, trying to come on, try. Very gentle, but using, because he was bigger than me,
and he's sort of using his body as a tool to really gentle giant kind of grabbing her, but with his strength and very gentle. I'm watching this, but we don't know what happens in the spiritual afterlife. How does that associate with your comfort? She was waiting for you in the afterlife. Now you've invested 15 years. It was for me. Yeah. The president doesn't want to talk about that shit. The president doesn't want to talk about, remember, this is, Marine got burned alive over there. This one got decapitated over there too. He doesn't want to go in a conversation about spiritual afterlife because the motherfucker doesn't know and they kill people all the time. Those are Nazi soldiers. That's what they are. Oh, you want a Veterans Night? What do you think Veterans Night happened to Frankie and my dad? Oh, that's American soldier there. It's just not all of them though, but this one is, huh? Now, this is not to have a conversation with Barack Obama or any high-level politic power to use that, but that's exactly what's going to happen. It's very contentful. You ever hear people talk about, when they talk about the afterlife, is they get these messages and you hear these mediums and you think about what the afterlife and it's security feeling. There is nothing like that with me with this little girl. There's no remembrance, but Sarah Cooper and Ken Cooper, they're isolating that, and this is how Kenneth Cooper at the radio station is wheeling me into this bullshit. And I'm watching him do this. I just don't know what the fuck this little girl is. I don't know if this rapist, what the fuck? And he's just reeling me in. It's a very disgusting, acidic, fucking parasitical behavior. I don't know how. That motherfucker's a girl, and it's very acidic, disgusting. Because to do that to a dead little girl you don't know, and for money and for fame, and you just want to take ownership and it just protect you make it. You know goddamn better. You know goddamn better. A detective, police officer, registered nurse, oh, it's just all this fucking money on free radio station. What the fuck? So the girl is being used by Kenneth the entire fucking time around him. Oh, it's just, be ruthless like his dad, or I mean, whatever you want to call him. But it's just used as a tool. And to dissemble and break up the parts of the emotion states and mental states and my understanding of that. Okay, I don't know what's going to happen, because you can really make a lot of the stories that what would have happened if I never got raped and got with a beautiful girl? How could I have associated that this princess then could say, man, she sent that pretty girl toward me? See how that story now sounds angelic now and spiritual? Because we don't know what happens in the afterlife exactly. Your faith isn't the same as mine, and what you visually think and how you perceive the world. We're on the same sort of platform where we don't know what the fuck happens. That's why we're doing all these studies, but that's a gold mine. That rag doll's already been dead for a long time, and it looks like that crucifix right there. You can go hip hop station right there for my niggas that hit crack, Anyway, but understanding that there's an association that makes you feel content and comfortable. Sarah Cooper was stripping from me when I was in the hospital. What the fuck do you think you're doing telling me that shit in the moment I'm fucking dying? Because I told you Jesus did it. I told you I had a college degree. Look, it was just Jesus. Like, it's fucking... It's so parasitical because it's trying to generate. If somebody's dying in front of me, I can generate this new understanding and feel comfort of my own death. I know they're just shooting me right now. It's my forearm here. I can generate this, this dead little girl, and then, no, it's for me. It's a very deep, selfish. It's for me. It's for me. I'm spirit. I'm older lady, and I understand. I've been a mud. This person is identifying very sick behavior, in my opinion. I'm dying in a hospital, and you're trying to target my sister because you think I'm going to go off and go into the spiritual world, and she's waiting for me into this evidently paradise, and she wants to say, and she's perfectly beautiful and normal now, and I get to reunite with my sister. I can tell you what's going to happen now. They're probably know I'm going to want to be buried next to her because she's my only biological sister. And that's probably what's going to happen. I'll probably request that I get buried next to her, even if it is a retard for Ken Cooper and Sarah Cooper and the police department. My resting bones. 'Cause my mother used to always say that shit to me, you know. Nobody knows about that. Sí, mira, tu papá es más un bolsa de huesos. Oh shit. My sister's a deputy shit. Police department with good credit. Barack Obama, you know, it's George Bush, the killer who like killing people and signing them off their deaths, you know, fuck you too, huh? But it's particularly, it's to milk it. So that's the exchange that will start happening. They won't say nothing, they allow it to happen in a hospital, they give ownership and all this other shit. Because in a highly sensible way, it is a very, very precious spirit, because there's so much that gets involved in this. They say there's a lot of spiritual shit that women really kind of get cooped up, particularly, you know, zodiacs and all that other shit. Well, and near-death experiences and whatnot, what we think of God in the afterlife, it's against Jesus. But remember, everyone likes to apply that on top of Jesus because it dominates him of what we don't understand, to give us more of that security that there is an afterlife in God eventually, but at least I made it fucking through, and the dumbass over here didn't. Because he went over there and got shipped off and shot right in the head, or shot, you know, right in the fucking ass, killed, bled to death, you know, or got eaten alive in Vietnam, you know, President Barack Obama, you know. But it's a high level. There's so much of these books that you read that you can apply to your advantage, to your own grappling advantage. So, for an example, here's a quick example. They say that in the life of levels of intelligence and of our experiences here on Earth as soul human beings, not associated so much with Jesus and all the sort of spiritual and Jesus books, is that God actually puts those types of human beings with Down syndrome because they're extremely highly elevated spiritual beings. Very highly elevated to demonstrate, to show something directly to the people that saw her and who she's associated with. And it's not that this person is just stupid and down and just really dumb, is that there is a very profound, in fact, those are very high levels, complete opposite of what you think. That those are very high level spiritual human beings and emotional beings, the high level spiritual elevated people. I'm not sure how the spiritual world and how the different interpretations, but I read a few of them and they have a common sense to what that foundation is. But understanding that, then that gets applied to the individual. But remember, she's my sister. That came from a nutsack of my father, but that comes from my bloodline, and that's my bloodline. That's a demonstration of my bloodline. If I didn't feel like that with my father, and I said this hundreds of times, playing soccer, being with an old man, I always felt like I had to prove to him, my genetics to him, that I was an outstanding, no matter how old of a crippled, non-workout, gumpy guy that he looked, is that I always had to prove that I the best that I could be was how strong he was going to be shown, because it showed, because he did care for me. That showed that, you know, he got to gold trophy with me. What do you think that brings? To me, that brings a downfall in genetics, because women want mating, healthy, strong. People notice that very quickly. You start acting, women, it's a very natural behavior. Men then push the pressure of retard and other women that don't like it because they saw white over there, then put that on the other girls, then they want to secure the situation. It's a training method. It's parasitical all around me. It's very dangerous, because that doesn't ever change to be my sister, but you're going to be the fucking angel, huh? But I think it's important for me to talk about, because it gets taken advantage of. It does, and it will. And the president can use that strictly to his advantage. Sarah Palin was laughing it off when I went over to Congress. This bitch was just. This is what this person was doing. Remember, it's to attack the most vengeful, penetrating, deep cores of your soul if you think you have one. Remember that you always think that you do. Not everyone thinks that they do, and I'm not saying you do or I do. I like to believe so. I don't know what those components consist of, how it's still intact, whether it's a light feeling or a mental deeper connection. I'm not sure. We all have the mysterious questions, but we all fear and hope we want the best. Almost all of us. No matter the race, we want something better and more enlightened, something else we don't know. That is a key door open to that. So there is no remembrance. There's no like me, none of that. Nor can I take any form of being. That's what Sarah Cooper's doing the entire fucking time and getting her people to fucking do it. But that's my bloodline. That shows, that says, there's an understanding because we watch the movies of afterlife. We don't know why God put such a retard, to display retardism in front of your fucking house. In front of my dad wasn't wearing diapers. At the same time, I watched my sister in fucking diapers shitting herself. I watched my dad, who takes care of me in diapers. No, I get to watch my sister, who I don't even know is my sister, shitting and pissing herself. But I'm not gonna remember. I'm not gonna get mad. But it's what's between your legs. Patricia got D enough for Mike Standish and Gary. Oh, hold on, President Barack Obama. The threats he made at the store. And it sucks because this is the worst of the worst. We're messing with those types of things. So, they have to be the way that they are because of how human beings are in general and how disgusting they are, and the future of the United States, the future how a family similar, just like you have Holocaust families. The Germans go back to their houses after killing 700,000 innocent little children and burn them alive, and on dogs to eat them alive. And they go back to their families and they have a cookout, with their neighbors, and they talk about, whatever Nazi, plans they have. They have to think of the future Nazi. They have to think of the future bullshit. They have to think of the evolution, what they want to get to their kids. Well, that's what these motherfuckers want to do. But you have to do it in the sake of a huge amounts of people. And you have to be careful with that. And you have to be very disgusting and ruthless when you're doing it in order to be successful. And it's masterminding. Remember, you have to dominate your master of intelligence greater than any of these dumb fucks. And it's also a very self-absorbed personality to the highest level of degrees. Remember, they're going to die too, and they don't know what the fuck's going to happen. They could have done some sort of genius shit and figured out everything in the afterlife and what God is, and they just haven't told anybody, and they got the secret keys and shit, some conspiracy shit, but that's a different story. But understanding that, that's all that's going to be used that's a buffet. That's a buffet that's being ripped apart, and that's all that is. Because the vengeance of what these people did in Kenneth, and what Michael Rossiter did, or what this person did, and then what that person did, and this person who gave a BMW, and then this person who gave a $400,000 fucking car, house, then this person over here, you did this shit. Okay, well, split that emotion shit, and what's going to be when you're seeing the casket wheel down. It's going to be heightened, intersecting to then the emotion, and then to there's your money. And then it's just like, and it's built in very intricate systems of this way to be able to apply the effect that they need. This isn't a beauty, this is their benefit. This isn't a beauty that is, you put a beautiful picture and you say, wow, this little girl was part of our life. You had some flowers, and I think emotionally with my mother, what she thinks of it. She's all fucked up and raped up. And Frankie being sold for sex, for rape, to, for Ken Cooper in the police department. The police department, remember? It's there isn't. It isn't like you finally put her to rest, because there isn't a generation where I go through my life and have something like that where I'm thinking to myself, I can be a better person because I have something I go home to, or something in a remembrance to think of this precious life that was being shown to me that happened to be my bloodline. Who knows? Maybe I hit the lottery again, or whoever's hit the lottery again, and this is father's by somebody else's guy. This is only had my half sister. But it's a very tragic story. It's very sad, and it strictly gets benefited to the afterlife. 100%. 100%. To watch something like that is bad, but to see a little girl like that in a princess outfit, just shitting and pissing and wearing a princess crown, fuck you, motherfucker. And then being Mexican, I walk into that house and it did not smell no good cooking. I remember seeing the noodles on the fucking ground. It was was not eating caviar good food, making money. They were getting free cars, all this other shit. Watching her get hit. I saw her get hit by the belt a couple of times. This girl's not consciousness to understand that. It is it's a haunting story. It's very haunting to me. That you see. I go to school and I remember so distinctively feeling this girl was very lonely. Very distinctly thinking, I know you don't have to believe me on this, but I remember walking out the door and thinking of God and be like, we're two kids and we're going to school. You just go to a different school than I do. We're going to school. We're human beings. There was some sort of connection. I know it sounds weird, but I remember just being wanting to think positive and gentle and be kind of this nature. I remember that very well as I was walking from school, and I'd see the vomit early in the morning on the ground right in front of Melissa's front yard. You see chunks of it. And, it was fucked up. It was, that's a haunting story. It's a ghost story. You see a little Mexican girl. How many Mexicans do you think get represented in the highest peaks of fame in Hollywood and all this other shit? And here I am trying to be respectably respected, and none of this shit happened. I was homeless, being spit on, I was kicked, beaten, money stolen beyond anything you could imagine. You stole the money from my own flesh and blood. My biological father, you did it to him as well. No, it's because Frank is getting ass fucked by 10 men. I really didn't do anything. This is about Ken Cooper and the police department. To put, be humble and work in a warehouse. Fuck you and your money. If you think you just want to go after fucking money and have a good, fuck you. Well, remember 50 Cent and Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre, how many people they shot and killed and set a city on fire because of racism and all this? Oh, this is political power again, huh? And their fame and got money, and what do you think they held? But understand it's very poorly done and representing the Mexican, and I was the only person that could represent that at the finest other than Ivan. But I was the blood and I was the straight one. And 1 out of 7 fucking kids my mother had, you didn't give a fuck. That's how bad it gets. It's the worst of 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 the worst. So the spiritual entity in the soul is the ownership, maybe, that they know I'm grasping for it, because they've already built up the frustration that it was going to set the bomb off. Then Sarah and Ken take the ownership of practicing and use all their faggots like they did at the grocery store to then say, look, I gave her to you now. Because it's a very deep, so when you retract and you leave, it's a double-edged sword, and you're just getting ripped open with confusion of, because it's to dement that shit as deep as they possibly can. That's a witch. That's a bruja. That is a real life stewing bitch bruja. That's what that is. That's what Sarah Cooper's doing. And Kenneth doesn't want that to happen to his mother, because it's just about spirit and we just think about God. No, fuck you, motherfucker. Because they're so fearful of the reality of the situations that they're not willing to deal and face their own problems. They're willing to just maybe get the free ticket over here, because that's all they understood. And you know, uh, I'm watching my mother count money and get her ass ripped open. But it's about Sarah Cooper. When I've watched both of these people, I remember thinking of these people. My dad in diapers and this person was in diapers at the same time. And I remember that. There's always excuses, and the time runs out. It's so vengeful and greed. It's so, I want it, I'm gonna get it, I want it, you don't get it, oh, it's just love, because that's the value of life, then fucking motherfuckers. And now the president, it's a different state of mind, different complete state of mind. It has to be dissected that way. If there's no, in Mexican culture we believe the Dia de los Muertos. Entire city of Mexico, they have celebrations in the U.S. of it. Mexican communities, you give light candles. They light candles and they give food to their loved ones, their sons, their daughters, their kids, and to the afterlife that is waiting for them. And we sort of cherish that. Now, I don't practice that, but that is a Mexican culture, understanding that that's what they're doing to me. There is no comfort even for me. Oh no, it's Jesus for me right here. Just like you had all these motherfuckers that were doing this shit to me. And then the electronic devices that were beating the fuck out of me. I told you, you told me, shoot me in my brain, shoot me. And it's just training, and that's all it is. Because it's scumming that shit. Just like the mailman was throwing his flashes. Remember I told you the Bible? Remember I told you the Bible? Remember I told you? You see the flashes now? You think of Jesus now. You see, that's a flash. You see? Now every time you see a flash, that trains you. Remember, that's Jesus. Remember? You see, that's Jesus. Now submit and force Hector take a shit. And you get into this, it doesn't ever leave. And it stamps you. Permanent tattoo there. Now I've just robbed you from the comfort of what that spiritual existence is. Now that's not what I was chasing. But if that happened to fall in my lap, they want to make sure you're not going to get it. Do you see what Sarah Cooper and Kenneth are doing? You see what they're all doing? You see what these faggots are doing? Was that my lottery ticket or yours? No, was Michael Jackson my lottery ticket or yours? No, was Frankie's ass ripped in lottery ticket? Was that Ken Cooper? You need a raise at the police department being a detective without a college education. No, Yeah, that's a horror movie in my book. That's a very frightening story. There's no changing, and that's what they wanted. Could have been very beautiful. What you would have thought of, and people would have thought of, oh, Hector, she guided me to the spiritual world, bringing a beautiful girl to me. I know for you niggas, for you transgenders. Oh, I mean that transgender that died. Oh, that Patricia guy. Oh, but it was Lupe. No, but it was my stupid mother because she's just so stupid, and Angel came over here and helped her and paid it off. And no, it was just because I'm totally blind to what's going on. I'm spilling the beans like crazy to Kenneth, like trying to get answers, trying to find out what the fuck. Come on, motherfucker, tell me something. Pig confess shit, wiping it all over me. That's all they're fucking doing the entire time. That's the entire fucking time. I'm trying to fucking get answers. I'm trying to figure out how to fucking nothing. Absolutely nothing. But it's going to be trying to bury that shit bag, and that's what they're doing. But they're going to say, you see, you're cycling this negative. You're talking real bad about your own sister. You see who the hero is now? You see how Detective Superman is now? You see how Kenneth was there? But it's forgiveness time, Madison. But then cry, because you see a pretty girl that cries, is nothing compared to a burned alive girl that just wants to cry about being beautiful again. It never motherfucking happens. But it's a different journey, isn't it? And that's what the president is going to do, and that's what that is, because they know they want to give me some honorary bullshit ribbon, and that's what that dead corpse is doing. That's exactly what that dead corpse is doing. He wants to clean up with his shit because he's running his own game. He's running those political game power and all these fucks that are over there. And I don't want to accept any of it, and that's the way they're going to do it. The dead corpse is to finish it off and find out how to finesse it, to finally get it clean finished. You know, lose 10 years of your fucking life. You lose 15 years of life in a penitentiary. Anybody, you know, for some stupid ass fucking reason, some horrible reason, wasn't even your own fault. That is so dementing. You are going to fucking die, and you're not gonna know what the fuck's gonna happen. You keep believing stupid, and yeah, go over there, dumb shit, and die. You know, steak dinner over there all over again. Oh, and then they also make mistakes, and they also cry, and they also complain about their problem, and they're also got too much. They also have family members too that need help. They also take responsibility of all this. They also don't know everybody understands what the fuck they do over there. But that is always, it's always a haunting picture. That's, you know, that was, I get raped by a transgender, fucking a green hole, and then you have this little girl is walking up and down the sidewalks with a princess crown. That's the 15 minutes of fame that I'm watching, and now it's all over the internet. I mean, you disgraced. As I said, what did that little girl, if she was healthy, would be thinking? Oh, what if? Okay, we can go there too. You did this to my brother, and I'm walking in front of a princess, and just fucking. Who did you give money to, and who did you help out, and let them be nice people all over again? Oh, who did the problems? You know, obviously that's not the correct form, right? The girl cannot think for herself and is very sick, and she's fetching out for life. You can see her hands very spread out like this, not like this, but very just sort of reaching toward the skies and just smearing, it's just smearing, spaghetti sauce. How to survive? How do I eat food? How do I eat? I just want to eat some pizza and, just trying to survive, and have a meal and be breathe there, and maybe I'm gonna shit myself in front of Ivan and my dad and then my brother Hector, and I don't even know who my brother is because this is Ken Cooper, the angel who protected her and guided her, and Sarah Cooper that did it the whole time. And then Sarah gives it to me, and the president and psychologist wanted to clean up. And I remember, once you get into that mental, once you feel that, once you get in that place, that mental state of someone giving ownership to you, it's already been stapled. It's best to have never felt that. It's not best to have better felt horrible things that had happened in your life than then say that it taught you better to be a better person, because that's what you're going to fucking do anyway. It's better to not have to experience those types of things, because your life will be much more content and beautiful. But that's the intent of it. That is to crunch down in that mind, like in that type of way. And they know what they're doing. They know exactly what they're fucking doing. They're very conscious, very clear, very practical. I know what I'm doing. I'm very calculating, and I know it's because I never got caught, and I'm going to go ahead and make this about me. And I think it's worth me talking about, because you can't ever really fix the situation. You have some white power over there, and you have all of a sudden all these white bitches that show up, and it's fucked up, because the only reason I put these tattoos is because I didn't want to get sold to the blacks. I was more terrified of that than anything else, because I knew that's what they were going to do. It was just sell me to the blacks, sell me to these blacks that are having sex, and then it's just political power. And the whites were doing this, and my time was running out, and and the racism that was happening. I desperately want to remove the tattoos, and the fact that my own flesh and blood, skin, race color did this to me, and the teams that did this, it's the worst of the worst. The worst of the worst. And it's just something I wish I never would have been able to experience. And how you associate that my Mexican race, it's so pig infested shit. It's just like, it's okay. It's okay. We're Mexico now. You see the raza. It's so penetrating. It's like when you see people have interracial relationships, and a black guy from Africa fucks a white blonde girl, blue eyes, and knocks the fuck out of her race out, and kid is just, you know, that kid's black and only hangs around blacks. Like, it's over, it's game over. That's the level of 10 colors it takes you out of the game. You don't have white mixed half kids, no, that kid's black. But I think it's important for me to have discussions of this, because that was a huge discrimination and downfall that's irreplaceable. Those are the value things, because my mother doesn't have very much, but you remember you got stupid built up already for it, and you just kept on giving it money. You already conditioned it. For Sarah and Ken and the pigs, and the police department that depends on the political politics that we haven't yet to even know about what the pigs are fucking doing, because they're suffering all over the world, suffering all over. Just think about the United States, suffering all through the United States, people hanging themselves in prisons, rapes all over the places, shooting and killing, stabbings, fucking, you know, husbands, you know, getting their dicks cut off by wives in the middle of the night and throwing their hot dog fucking penis in the streets, you know. I heard about that story whenever Oprah Winfrey was on TV and brought her on the show. There's a lot of crazy shit like that. What is my story making any difference in it? You see? But Michael Jackson, now feel that emotion, how he cleaned up. You see how he plays really good taxes right there? Man, our King Cooper could use those for taxes. I'm sure he will. And, you know, the magic and all these things that you don't even get nothing. Not even a normal. And, you know, the money's all around me. I don't get to nothing. And you're the digging in trash cans. I mean, God forbid, I remember her like throwing up on the fucking ground and then grabbing her fucking vomit and playing with it in her hands and trying to feed herself. And I don't think I ever saw that, but it gets bad. You know, that's deputy. Law enforcement work. Remember, you gotta throw them in the cages. They rot in there. They change their state of mind, and they tell you a lullaby, happy Jesus story, and out they go to the cemetery for the next 15 years in that state of mind, and you win again. But you know, it sucks. That's why I need to get this Jerusalem and get this GED. I'm not going to Jerusalem unless I get my GEDs. I'm going to earn it. And I'm going to keep, no matter how many times it takes, keep trying. And that's what I'm going to do until I get this GED. And then I go to Jerusalem. So that's a very firm, you know, confidence, clear, and go for me. So, for myself. So, but I think that, you know, it sucks because I don't want that dead body to be thrown at me, and that's exactly what's going to be used for. But it's still stuck to me because it's my sister, and it's, you know, and that's what they're doing. It's a perfect meal. It's a perfect premium of a, you know, bacon and, you know, whatever you want to call it, you know, wagyu of being served for their benefits, you know. Because I don't, you know, there's a lot of rage and vengeance, but you got to clear that up with Jesus, you know, huh? Anyway, I make a discussion, talk about some other subject, hopefully just put it broad. I've been talking about an hour and 40 minutes, a very long time. I haven't made a video this long, so hopefully this registers with some new information, and hopefully it helps you in your journey of whatever you're fixing. You make your choices. Deputy story, huh?